Howdy on Woglax Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. So my trek didn't go so well. I did not complete that mission last episode. I I ran out of ammo again. So I definitely am not 200 is not enough ammo. Why is... Oh, because I made the glue. $200 is not enough ammo. Whoops. You stay with me. Might be able to buy some ammo. Maybe. I haven't bought ammo in a while, so like I said, we might be able to head out and grab some. Alright. Let's go see if we can buy some ammo. I don't know how often the shops refresh. So we'll go hit the desert shop and then we'll swing out to the other couple of shops I know. See how that goes. Maybe. If I can actually remember where they're at. So today I wanted to talk about the movies I watched yesterday. First one was okay, but it was like it looked like it was gonna be really funny. Like the commercial for it was really funny, and that was Stuber. And I mean, I wasn't expecting a miracle out of it, but just kind of turned into a bland, you know, like cop civilian action buddy movie, you know, really standard, like nothing really stood out. There were a couple of funny jokes. I did laugh, and it wasn't awful or anything, but yeah, it wasn't great. Was definitely not as funny as the trailer led me to believe it was going to be. Because that was one that I was looking forward to watching. Not like, oh man, I gotta see that movie, but like, oh, that movie looks funny, we should watch that. The other movie I watched, which is the one that's going to have the most complaining, was Ad Astra, which has got Brad Pitt is the main character, and Tommy Lee Jones is in it, and Liv Tyler is sorta in it, and Donald Sutherland is in it, and so there's some pretty big names in there, and so I mean that's probably a tip-off that it's gonna be probably some kind of drama, right? And so I mean I was expecting that. It's set. You know, think I took a wrong turn. I think I need to be over there. And I knew it was like a space movie, and I knew his father had disappeared on a mission, and all that from the trailers. So, spoilers for this one. It was awful. uh, I looked at some reviews of it afterwards because of how much I didn't like it, and apparently people really like it. Like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Roger Ebert gave it like the best performance by Brad Pitt ever. And I'm just like, did you all watch the same movie I watched? It was boring and like science fiction, Star Wars level physics impossibility. People were like, it's the most realistic space movie I've ever seen. It's like Solaris, which I also didn't like, or Gravity, which I also didn't like. But yeah, I was not impressed with this movie. It's to boil down what this movie is actually about. It's a middle-aged man played by Brad Pitt, who, oh, I should probably buy that. Who goes on.
All right, now that we're done doing business, get out of my store.
I am. Who goes on a journey to meet with his absentee father who abandoned him when he was a teenager because he can't form an adult emotional relationship with anyone. That is what this movie is. And none of the rest of it basically makes any sense or matters. And I really, like, Liv Tyler might say 3 lines of dialogue in the movie. Mostly she's just in flashbacks. Like little tiny, like, half-second flashes of how him and her were a couple, and then she left him because he couldn't form a relationship. And and it was bizarre. And not only, like, Brad Pitt in this movie has 0 emotions until the end of the movie. 0 emotion. Well, no, that's not true. There is a scene in the middle where he sort of starts to become human. But if someone told me, oh yeah, Brad Pitt was on heavy sedatives while filming the beginning of this movie, I would believe it. It opens up interesting. I enjoyed the first bit where they're on some kind of low orbit antenna, and so it gets damaged, and Brad Pitt falls off of it, and then parachutes to the ground once he reaches the atmosphere thick enough. So I mean, that part was cool to watch. And so the science fiction part of the story is that cosmic storms are hitting Earth and destroying electronics, and people are dying from it, from the electronic explosions. And that's what happened to the antenna he was on which I think was in orbit. I couldn't ever get a good look at if it was in orbit or if it was just really, really like tall into outer space. Tall, I don't know. And then, uh, but they make a comment in the movie about how Brad Pitt's heart rate never goes above 80, even when he fell off of the antenna. And I'm like, oh, so he definitely is a wooden robot. I gotcha. All right. And so what they want to do is they want to send him to, like, this story makes no sense. All right. So they think his father's ship is causing the cosmic storms in a offhand comment that the ship's drive uses antimatter and somehow that is causing giant global catastrophe level electrical storms to hit Earth. No real explanation in there. You know, usually at least there's some kind, or maybe there was and I just missed it. I'm not gonna lie, I was doing some other things when it first started. But what they want to do is they want to send him to talk to his father. And so there's a lot of like checking. It's a bizarre movie because they keep showing people being checked for their psychological profile levels, and he basically answers like one or maybe two questions, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're good. And I'm like, nothing that you asked him was anything to do with his psychology. I don't understand what's going on in this movie like this. It's so bizarre. And ooh, look, this guy had a little bit of ammo. And so they go to the moon.
It's been a
and he meets up with Donald Sutherland, and Donald Sutherland is supposed to be his keeper because they're worried that something. Okay, I know there's that right there, right? So they're worried that he might become emotionally unstable, I guess, and they go to the moon, and instead of sending him to Mars openly, they want to hide what has happened. Because apparently this story really is broken. I don't understand. They say something, and then they show you something that supports what they say, and then later it's completely different than what they said. So his father was on a mission to go outside the solar system to find out if there was alien life. He left when Brad Pitt was 16. The mission stopped communicating with Earth when he was 29. And I mean, I don't know how old he's supposed to be in this movie, but I know that in real life he's in like his 50s, right? And so I have to assume he's supposed to be at least in his 40s or 50s in this movie. So his father hasn't been around in a long time. And obviously if they're going to fly out to outside the solar system, then the decades that his father has been gone could possibly be long enough to get there, but they think his ship is around Neptune for some reason. And so that's where they want him to communicate with his father. But to do that, they're actually going to have him use a radio antenna on well, it's not even a radio antenna, it's a laser antenna on Mars. And they don't want anyone to know because they told everybody that his father died a hero, and it turns out that maybe he didn't die a hero, maybe he died crazy. Or maybe he's still alive. You don't know. And so when they get to the moon has one safe city and everything else is open for grabs. And so they have to be careful when they're traveling across the moon because you could get attacked by pirates. Moon pirates. Yeah, no. And so they leave Safe City. I don't remember what they called it. And they head out on 3 moon buggies that are basically a chassis with some benches strapped to it. Like, that's all it is. It's not a cargo truck. It's not something where they're going to have great supplies. It's 3 open canopy buses. And they start traveling down the... How do they have a base on the dark side, but they don't have a secure route between them? I don't know, but they're headed to the dark side of the moon. And so along the way they get attacked by pirates, which are other people in buggies. So then it turns into Mad Max, basically, right? And so now Brad Pitt, who was a great engineer on a antenna, now becomes the ultimate soldier and manages to get him and Donald Sutherland back to base while getting everyone else killed. Well, I mean, he didn't kill them, the pirates killed them, but everybody else died but him and Donald Sutherland. So then they get to the base, and I'm like, that was dumb. Like, A, what were the pirates after? Like, they don't have any supplies with them. I mean, they might have some extra oxygen tanks or something, maybe might be useful. But there's no way that you didn't use up more oxygen. Ooh, look at, you got lots of ammo here. There's no way they didn't use up more oxygen than they would have gotten. I don't know what else you would take from a bus. Because there were like 7 buggies that came after him loaded with people. And so it doesn't make any sense. There's no... I don't understand why the pirates would even attack them. They weren't a group that I would attack if I was a pirate. I would probably wait and go for, you know, I don't know, somebody with actual supplies.
Are we done here?
And, did I buy any books? I didn't buy any books that time, just ammo. Lots and lots of ammo. So look at that, I got tons of ammo now. Nice. And, so yeah, I'm just like, this movie is weird. It doesn't make any sense. And so then it doesn't get any better. It just doesn't get any better. I don't know why people like this movie. It doesn't get any better than this. So then they get to the rocket ship, and Donald Sutherland has a heart attack, basically, I think. And so they have to leave him behind, and he gives Brad Pitt a secret communication that he wasn't supposed to show Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt needs to know. And what he needs to know is, if they can't talk his father out of whatever is going on to make those cosmic storms, then they're gonna blow up the ship so that it doesn't cause the cosmic storms anymore. The cosmic storms that I don't think were ever explained how they happened. Something to do with the antimatter that's on the ship, but that doesn't make any sense. Neptune is so far away. I don't understand what is supposed to be shooting out of Neptune from this tiny little ship that would cause a cosmic storm like they're saying it's causing, right? And so along the way they reach a point where they get a distress signal on the way to Mars. And Brad Pitt's like, I have a top, secret important mission we can't stop. And the captain of the ship says, and they're like rockets. They're like modern day our rockets. In fact, they're not even as good as our rockets because none of those rockets tried to land anything after they launched. Like, our rockets land things now. Their rockets just spit chunks of rocket off into space and continue down their way. Which I just thought was a weird choice when that is definitely not how they're designing rockets now. And so, anyways, I feel like actually what it was is this movie was a big, we can't send people to space and it's pointless. That is what I took away from the message of this movie. And because they showed old technologies that we don't even use anymore. I mean, I guess we do, but we're trying to get away from that. And then the physics is just insane in this movie. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so they're going along and they hit the SOS, and he tells Brad Pitt that if he doesn't want to answer the SOS, which they're required to do, then he will have to assume command of the mission, which is his right. Okay, so it's his right to assume command of the mission, but you won't do what he says unless he assumes command of the mission. Gotcha. And so he says he doesn't want to do that. And so the captain asks the second in command who should go, and the second in command says he doesn't care. And then Brad Pitt has this ongoing internal monologue through the whole movie in his very wooden delivery. I can see it. I can see that he's afraid. Most of us try to hide things. He's trying to blah, 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 blah. And so the captain says he'll go, and then Brad Pitt says he'll go with him. And they say that there are 23 people on board this research station. So they get to the research station, and they can't find anybody. There are some, like, claw marks on the wall. But that's it. And then Brad Pitt hears the captain yell, and he goes through the empty hallways to where the captain's at. And when he gets there, the captain has been attacked by a baboon. No joke. A baboon. And so Brad Pitt shoots the baboon, or shoots at the baboon, and then a second baboon comes, and he pulls the captain's body out of the room, and like his hand is all bitten up, and his face shield is cracked, and I'm sorry, it's not cracked, it's shattered, and he looks lifeless to me. And Brad Pitt's like, don't worry, I'll get you back to the... No, I'm sorry, don't worry, I will get you back to the ship. And there we will let medical deal with your injuries. Hang in there, Captain. And so, but they never show what happened to anybody else. 23 people just vanished. 2 baboons, though, hanging out on the spaceship. And so they get to Mars, and while they're on Mars, they get taken down. He gets taken down to their secret. I don't know if it's a secret, but they won't let a handful of people take Brad Pitt down, and this woman who greets him, who, like, I don't think I listened to her announce who she was, but later she said that she was responsible for the entire base. And so I don't know if she's supposed to be like the commander of the base or what, but she wasn't allowed into into where they were going. And so Brad Pitt reads a statement that they had written for him, and they don't get a response. And so then he comes back a second time, and instead of reading the written statement, he just speaks. And so then they get all excited in the back room, and then the woman comes in, and she says, "Yeah, you're going back to Earth now. We can't have your emotional outburst. You're psychologically unstable now." And he's so psychologically unstable, he's angry that they won't tell him. Like, he finally has an emotion. He's angry that they won't tell him if his father answered, and they make him go into the comm room, which is like the lowest tech thing you've ever seen. It's a room with white sheets hung over it, and then they just, like, movie project images, low-res images of birds and stuff on the wall. And I'm just like, what is going on in this movie? It's like I'm watching something that was made in the 70s. And so then the woman who says she's responsible for the whole base shows up and tells him that, or shows him a video where his father had sent a message that got picked up by Mars, that his crew had mutinied because they couldn't stand to be so far away from Earth, and they didn't believe there was anything out there. And so, like, they said it was a 32-year mission, and they're quitting at 13 years in? I don't know. And so his father locked them in one section of the ship and depressurized it. And so she's like, "Your father killed my parents," but she could get him to the ship. And so then we go to where it gets even more ridiculous, and the rocket ship is about to take off, and Brad Pitt climbs up the side of the rocket while it's taking off from Mars. Because you know how you can get on the side of a rocket and climb a rocket while it's taking off? Because there's like no force or anything pushing it into outer space. I mean, so obviously it's super, super easy to climb the side of a rocket. And then he goes in through the airlock, and then the captain is that dude from before, the one who was too afraid to go onto the other ship, and he orders his crew to do something about it, and their answer to doing something about it is to try and kill Brad Pitt. It was like a complete jump up of escalation levels, skipping anything in between, like, I don't know, talking to him? And so they managed to kill themselves because they come out of their seat during the launch. The one, she slams into the back of the ship and dies when the rocket is firing into outer space and switching stages. And then I missed exactly what happened. I looked away, and when I looked back, they had done something, and all the air got sucked out of the room, or they released some gas or something. But Brad Pitt was in his spacesuit, so he was fine. But everybody else died. So now just Brad Pitt is on this rocket that's loaded with nuclear weapons to go blow up his father's ship. And so then he basically has a breakdown where he remembers news stories he saw about his father and moments where he was with Liv Tyler, who, mind you, has basically not been in the film at all up to this point, except for like one message where she said she was leaving him. And I'm just like, this is so bizarre, and it's so slow, and it's like a 2-hour movie, and nothing has happened, and nothing is going on, and you don't know anything about anything, and what they do tell you doesn't make any sense. And so then he gets to, then he gets to Neptune, and he takes the little shuttle off of the, or takes the nose cone, whatever, takes the vehicle from the rocket, and tries to fly over to his father's ship, and it gets damaged, and so it goes away. And then he gets on board and he talks to his father, and his father's like, "I never loved you, boy. I came to outer space because I believe there's intelligent life out here, and I refuse to go back." Alright, that's my Tommy Lee Jones. Not very good. And Tommy Lee Jones is like the only person in the whole movie that had emotions. But he refused to go back because he would not leave until he found intelligent life, and he believed intelligent life was out there. Meanwhile, he's been orbiting Neptune for no reason. They never explained. At least I did not see an explanation for why it was at Neptune, instead of heading outside of the solar system like it was supposed to. Oh, that reminds me. I looked it up. So if they were to send a laser message from Mars to Neptune, it would take like between 3 and 4 hours, one way. A laser message would. So I don't understand why they were expecting immediate responses from Neptune, because it takes light between 3 and 4 hours to reach Neptune. I say between 3 and 4 hours because it's a little over 4 hours for light to go from the sun to Neptune, and it takes 8 minutes to reach Earth. So I think it's like, I don't remember. I don't remember how long it takes to reach Mars. So I'm saying it's around 4 hours one way for a laser light to go from Mars to Neptune. It doesn't matter how powerful it is; it can only go as fast as light. And and so I thought that was weird. Anyways, and so he's he talks to his father. His father says he won't leave. His father he puts his father in a suit. He's like, "It's time to come back." They go outside. His father starts the jets on his suit and yanks the two of them off of the ship toward Neptune. And they just keep going and going and going. And then his father's like, "You gotta let me go, boy." I don't remember what they said there, but "You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go. I know you came all this way, but you gotta let me go." And so they detach, and then Tommy Lee Jones floats off toward Neptune, and somehow, miraculously, Brad Pitt stops moving. So even though they had started shooting toward Neptune, Brad Pitt suddenly has 0 momentum toward Neptune. That's not how 0G works. Like, this movie has 0G special effects, but I don't think anybody actually understood it. Like, they have the worst space physics. And then Brad Pitt goes and he takes a piece off of the ship after he sets the nuclear bomb to blow up, so that the antimatter reactor will stop sending out giant cosmic storms toward Earth. And he pulls a piece off of an antenna that's a panel that's about the same size as he is, because he doesn't have a vehicle to get back through the ring that he came through, because that's what happened. He took the vehicle toward the other ship, and he went through a ring of ice and stuff, and it damaged the ship. So now he's got to go back through that ring. So with his leg muscles, he launches himself from the ship, and then he hides behind that panel and uses that panel to go through the ring while big, like, head-sized chunks of ice and rock are slamming into the panel, not slowing him down at all. Not at all. Like, there was no momentum change, and because you know how that works, right? You get hit a bunch of times while you're having no forward propulsion, because he didn't use his jets. It was just his leg spring off of the ship. And I'm just like, this movie is ridiculous. And then he gets back to his ship, and then he goes home, and so, I mean, I don't know how long it would take to reach Neptune, but they don't tell you in the movie, because, I mean, that would require them to calculate something. I mean, they didn't even calculate how long it would take for light to reach Neptune. And so then he gets back to Earth, and they let him out of the pod, and then he meets Liv Tyler at a diner. The end. Only he's all happy looking now. He wasn't happy before, and he does some internal monologue about how he couldn't be happy before, but now he's... Oh, no, that wasn't internal. He said it as his psychology test, that he was just looking forward to growing as a person and helping other people be happy, which is something he couldn't do before. And that was Ad Astra. Don't watch it. It is awful. I don't care that it's got 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care that Roger Ebert liked it. It was a terrible movie. It's the most boring. My father left me, and so I can't form emotional attachments, and so I must go on a trip, now that I'm a middle-aged man, to go meet the man who abandoned me so that I can get some closure so I can form emotional attachments movie I've ever watched. It was so boring. And the space phase, it failed as a space movie. It failed as a emotional growth movie. I don't understand why. I don't understand why there was a moon buggy chase. I don't understand why there was a spaceship with baboons. I don't understand why his father's ship, which was supposed to be leaving the solar system, stopped at Neptune randomly. I don't know. It definitely was not my movie. I mean, obviously people like it. I wanted to. I like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that movie is slow paced as well, and about space. But at least that one's got a story I can mostly understand, or at least mostly seems to have a point. This one, not so much. I mean, what's the point? I'm sorry. Right, I told you. The movie was about how we shouldn't go to space. Was their subplot. Their main plot was Brad Pitt had to go meet his estranged father. But the subplot was, don't go to space. It's horrible there. Horrible things happen. We're not going to do any better if we go into outer space. We're going to drag all of our hubris with us. There was an actual thing where he talks about how terrible the secure city on the moon is, because all the things like entertainment that we use on Earth, we took with us to the moon. And so there were like tourists on the moon getting their picture taken while he's talking about this. Apparently he didn't like tourists. And then when he talks to his father's like, no, I'm not going back because I have to prove there's intelligent life, and I believe there's intelligent life out here, and I won't go back as a failure. And Brad Pitt goes, "You're not a failure. You proved that we're alone and we have to do it all ourselves." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Whiny, who just traveled all the way across the solar system to meet a man you haven't seen since you were 16?" Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand. It was not. It was, whew, it got me worked up, let me tell you. All right. With that, click like if you like, subscribe be sure and catch the next one. Be better in the small things. And I will talk to you later.